Hey everybody, and welcome back to the HEP Podcast, Episode 2. I would like to welcome our new member of the podcast, Sam.
Hey guys.
Sam will be my new co-host for most of the podcasts, while Cammie is now moving to interviews with Kristen. Last week, Kristen said that we're going to have a special guest for today's interview.
Our special guest for today is, drumroll please, Mrs. Juren. Woo! Mrs. Juren is the founder and principal of HEP and the creator of the first National Homeschool Honor Society, ESA.
Now, before we get to that interview, let's hear our announcements for the day. On to you, Anna.
Mark your calendars, because on December 8th, HEP is hosting a game night at the school. More information will be coming out soon. School pictures will be available for pickup by the end of this semester.
All right, and then November 14th through 17th is our Fall Shirts Week. So get in the festive mood, wear a nice shirt or other type of clothing. And then not too long after that, we'll wear some Christmas shirts, everyone's favorite holiday. And you know what? I say that we should all go around and say our favorite part of the Christmas season. First, we'll go with Cammie.
I'd say my favorite part is hanging out with my family and decorating my whole entire house.
And what do you like to decorate?
Obviously we do a tree, and we also do tinsel around the house and a whole bunch of little knickknacks of Christmas spirit.
Okay, cool. Anna?
I like receiving gifts and eating the special Christmas candy my grandmother sends.
What type of candy?
I like to eat petit fours and truffles.
All right, Kristen?
I like to spend time with my family and find my elf on the shelf.
Okay, what do you
What
do
do you
with
mean
Elf on
by-
the Shelf?
He hides around my house and does fun activities like putting candy all around himself.
Okay, what about you, Sam?
I like to go hunting with my grandfather.
What do you like to hunt?
Typically white-tailed deer
Where do you go hunting?
at my grandfather's farm.
That's cool.
And Chase, what do you like to do for the Christmas?
Well, I kind of just like to hang around my church and spend time with some of my close friends over there.
Do you like decorating at your church?
Occasionally.
What kind of church do you go to?
It's a Methodist church in Santa Fe.
Who are your friends?
Y'all probably don't know any of them. They live kind of like 35 minutes away or so.
And of course, the big news is that HEP is moving to a new building next semester at 208 Edgewood and Friendswood. So watch your emails for additional information on that.
Well, that is all of our ads for today. But before we get going with today's interview, I would like to get to know my good friend and new member of the podcast, Samuel Ward. All right, so we're all going to play a little bit of a game to get to know Sam. He has written some facts about himself with a little bit of a catch. Some of these facts are false, some of them are true.
And of course you ask me first.
Yep, all right, so we're going to go up, and Anna, you're going to be receiving the first question. Sam?
Okay. I play ukulele, I play guitar, I play banjo, I play piano, and I play bass guitar.
So
Which one do I not play?
I gotta say, banjo?
Yeah, that is correct. I do not play banjo.
Good
Oh,
job,
I do want
Anna.
to learn how to play
Surprise.
banjo.
Good job, Anna. All right, Cammie, next question.
I have owned 2 cars. I have 2 jobs. I have 2 computers. I have 2 dogs.
I'm going to say the 2 cars one.
Nope, I own 3 dogs, not 2.
Oh, trick question.
It is.
That's
Trick
a lot of
question.
twos.
Yeah,
It is.
it is. All right, Kristen, you're next.
I like the Spurs. I like the Rangers. I like the Astros. Arnold Palmer's are my favorite drink, and I listen to Eminem.
I'm gonna guess it's Eminem.
No, I don't like the Astros. I
You
do listen to
disappoint me.
Eminem.
Seriously?
Yes.
So Sam is
Okay.
no
Walk
longer
away
our
from
new
me
member of
now.
the podcast.
Sam's no longer on the podcast. You will not be hearing from him next week.
Rangers is my favorite baseball team.
We're not all perfect.
Yeah.
Chase?
We are.
Yeah, so I'm going to be receiving the final question. Sam told me this is the hardest one.
Yeah. I play in a band. I have an outstanding student award. I came to HEP in 8th grade. I go to the gym. I know my great-grandmother.
So this is actually a trick question. You didn't come to HEP in 8th grade. You came to HEP in 2nd grade.
Mm-hmm. That's correct.
I've known Sam for quite
Yeah.
a bit.
Good job, Chase.
Okay, I have a final question for the whole group about who I listen to. Okay, so I listen to Ben E. King, Robin Thicke, Elton John, Travis Scott, and Outkast.
You
Who
don't.
do not listen to?
You don't listen to Travis Scott.
That's awesome.
Travis
Correct.
Scott.
You do not listen to Travis Scott. That's not true.
Okay, that was easier than I expected. Okay, well, thanks for that. But let's transition to our interview section for the podcast. Over to you, Cammy and Christian.
We would love to welcome Mrs. Juren to our very first HE Podcast interview. Mrs. Juren is the principal and founder of HEP.
Thank you so much for being here. We are super excited to have you. So the students of HEP have some thought-provoking questions we would like to ask you. So, tell us, when did you start HEP and why?
I started it back in 1997 because my own two sons needed a biology lab. We had a cat, and we were supposed to dissect the cat, so we thought Papa probably really would prefer us not doing it in our kitchen. So we went ahead and contacted San Jacinto College. They were very gracious. We had several professors stepped up to teach classes, and so we got started in the fall of 1997.
So, I also do have a question I would like to
Okay.
ask you. Did you always want to open up your own school, or did you have a different dream job when you were younger?
Well, as a young teacher, I taught in HISD, and then I became an assistant principal, and a year or two later, a principal. And I really thought that my plan, God's plan for me, was to work in public school, and so I was hoping to become a superintendent in a school district, which would be the upper management. And so I trained for 4 years under Superintendent Billy Reagan, and then I got pregnant. So they gave me the typical 2-year leave of absence. And then when they called me to place me as a principal of a high school in HISD, I was pregnant again. So they gave me another 2-year leave. And at the end of that, no more babies, but I didn't want to go back. So I enjoyed just being a mom.
Why did you start National Homeschool Honor Society program?
Well, as I said a few minutes ago, my own two sons were in 8th and 10th grade, and they needed a class for their subjects. So I thought with the starting of Home Education Partnership that it would be good to start an honor society for homeschoolers. And when I contacted the National Honor Society, that's for public and private school students, they said that they would not accept homeschoolers because mommy and daddy give the grades. And they were afraid that your parents would lie and cheat. And they really offended me because they said, well, we know you wouldn't because you used to be a principal in public school. Well, y'all, that made no difference. I knew so many homeschoolers, and I was just really proud of the job your parents do with you and that you do. And so I just said to them, I'll start my own. And they were so excited. And so they really were impressed with Eta Sigma Alpha and the requirements we had for getting in. And he actually, the man who was the director then, told me, he said, y'all are harder to get into than we are. And I said, yes, we're held to a higher standard as homeschoolers.
So, I know it's been about almost 3 years since the pandemic started. How did the pandemic impact the education process here?
Well, here at HEP, we were very fortunate because, number one, we're small, so I can turn much quicker than a big 50 to 100,000 school district student organization. So we found out about the pandemic during spring break, the start of spring break. So the next week, one of our parents here who used Zoom a lot trained me via Zoom how to use it, how to set it up, and a lot of tips. So I trained all of my 32-week teachers, the honors teachers, and got them all up and running the next week. And then the following week, I had even my first grade teachers up. And so we moved to Zoom very flawlessly. So here at HEP, we did not miss a single class. We made everything up. But y'all, with a small program and with 1 day a week classes, it's a lot easier to engage because you're not having to do it 5 days a week and not doing it for 6 or 8 hours a day. So we didn't miss anything, but I am very concerned about statistically the country as a whole because it's being said now that we lost about 2 years of learning. And y'all, this is going to take a whole generation, 15 to 20 years to make that up.
So, with everything with the pandemic and everything, there have been several accomplishments that you could have created as well. So, what is your greatest accomplishment within the school?
During the pandemic? Or just
Overall.
overall? Okay, so what is my greatest accomplishment within the school? Well, there's a lot of cool things we've done that I'm very proud of, but I think the thing that I think is the benchmark for how well you as the students here at HEP have worked, your families have worked, teachers have worked together, and we've had 57 former students get doctoral degrees. And y'all, that's amazing for a little small homeschool program. So I just think it says a lot about homeschooling family success. And y'all, I'm a partnership with your parents. And I certainly don't take hardly any of the credit. It really goes to your families. And so I think that that's really the greatest accomplishment. But it's also the coolest thing that I do is that I work with y'all. And I get to work with your families and provide opportunities. So I think that's the greatest accomplishment for all of us at HEP.
So, in the next maybe couple years for the school, do you have any big future plans for the school?
Well, as you know, Candy, we're moving.
Yes.
I've been looking for a building for 3 years, and we've looked at land, we've looked at buildings, we've looked at almost everything. I even looked at going into churches. So, about 3 weeks ago, I was driving down 518 and 2351, and I happened to look over at a building that had a little for-lease sign. So I had my friend, my realtor, call, and we were the first people to inquire about it because they just literally put the sign out. And so we went ahead and put a bid in on the building, and he told me yesterday the reason he chose us was because I lived in Friendswood, and his father's an educator, and he wanted to give it to me because I'm an educator. So we now have a building. It's at 208 East Edgewood Drive, and that is also called 2351. So that's my greatest my greatest goal for the next couple of years is to get the new building up and running. It's going to have a couple of patios. It's going to have a play area. So we'll have to kind of do everything in stages. So I see it taking a year and a half to get it all the way I want it to be. And then hopefully we'll be growing and have to kick the next tenant out.
So now we have some fun questions, not
Okay.
so serious to ask you. What has been your favorite class to teach throughout the years?
Okay, so my all-time favorite class, I thought long and hard about this after y'all gave me my questions, and it truly is debate. I was a debater in high school. I loved it. I lived and breathed for debate. My mother was very disappointed because I had taken piano for 12 years, and I was a good pianist, and played in the stage band and the orchestra, but my favorite class was debate. I loved it. So I taught public school debate and speech, and now I had taught homeschool speech and debate. And today I don't teach debate anymore, but I do teach high school speech, and I teach logic, and so those cover a lot of the same because you're teaching people to think. And it's fun when people can argue both sides of the case, and you can give your arguments without believing maybe one of the sides. So it's a fun course. Battle of wits.
So you've been in the education system for a while teaching. Do you have any fun, beloved memories you have from teaching?
Well, my favorite memory really of teaching is with one of my own children. We could not get slope-intersect formula. Jason tried and tried and tried. I won't tell you how long it took. And one day I had pulled out 40 problems from the Saxon math book and laboriously written them all down for him. And he was halfway through on the second day. Oh, I get it. And my older son seen it. He goes, Mom, is that one of those aha, I got it moments? And I went, yes, we have witnessed it. So Jason, being the proverbial smart aleck, said to me, do I have to do the rest of the problems? I said, yes, because now you know how to do them. You need to get mastery. So that's really a fun moment because I got to see really an aha moment. Mm-hmm. And so it was with my own child. Yeah. And if you're listening, Jason, just ignore what I said.
So as Kimmy said, you've been in the teaching role for a while. Are there any embarrassing teaching moments that you have?
Absolutely. One of the most embarrassing, I was a young teacher, 21 years old. I had just turned 21 in October. And I was teaching a student who turned 21 in September. So he was younger than me in 9th grade. I had already finished 4 years of high school, 3.5 years of college to become a teacher, and he was older than me in 9th grade. So I was having a hard time keeping him under control. He was a special needs student. And just as I looked up and saw the principal coming in the room, he laid down on my desk. That was so embarrassing. And Mr. Yoheads, the principal of Hartman Middle School, was very nice and kind about it, but it was just not a good way to start your teaching career with one of your students laying on a desk in front of the principal. So don't do that.
Do you have maybe a hidden talent you haven't maybe shown anyone
Well, a
or
lot
told
of the
anyone?
students don't know, but I used to be a golf coach, and I played golf 7 days a week. And 4 of my dearest friends in my life are girls who played on my golf team when they were 15 and I was 24. And they're still precious friends of mine today. But I used to carry a 185 average in bowling, and I'm a pianist of 12 years, had my piano tuned yesterday, so hopefully I can play again. And I'm an artist. I like to watercolor.
So, what was your favorite subject in school?
Well, I was good at a lot of things, but my all-time favorite subject was speech and debate. And I liked math. I was a good math student, and I liked English, obviously. So I just enjoyed learning.
So the last and probably most important question all the students want to know. Do you have a favorite student?
Well, you know, over the years I've had many wonderful students, but
Well, that will do it for our second episode of the HEP Podcast. Leave anything in the comments below, any critiques you have for us, or any guests you would like us to have on the show for our interview section. And a special thank you to Mrs. Juren for coming on our podcast and being so gracious and answering all of our questions.
Well, thank you all for tuning in, and stick around for the next episode.
So, since we did lose connection for the interview, who do you think her favorite student is?
Oh, obviously it was me.
I beg to differ.
Chase, why do you think it's you?
Well, you see...
All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Bye.